The Michael Berry Show.
I was sent a post on Facebook by Popo who said, "This is your kind of story." And it was a post by a fellow named Larry McDougal. And it was talking about being a cop, why he went back to being a cop. And Larry McDougal's been around the political world in Houston, Harris County for years. He was general counsel for the Fort Bend Republican Party. He's held various positions. He was a State Bar of Texas president, I believe, or one of the senior officers statewide. And he's a guy that if you're around the political process, you know his name. We're not close friends, but a lot of people I know their name, and I see their name keep popping up. So the guy sends me this email and says, you know, if somebody curates a piece for me and tells me why I would find it interesting, I'm going to take the time to read it. So it was a post from Larry McDougal on his Facebook page, and it went as follows. I am frequently asked why, with my background, did I take a job as a patrolman with the Moulton Police Department. So allow me to answer this. I want to save one more life before I get called home. I've performed CPR 7 times. Now I have two saves. This guy's like a modern-day Mojo. He's like our dentist. He's like Guy Lewis out just saving people at the Astros game in Insperity Suite with a triple pump. I have pulled people out of a burning car. I've pulled people out of a burning home as well. And I've stopped the bleeding until EMS arrived. I mean, you ain't done nothing. I've caught a rapist in the act. I've pulled men off their wives when they were beating them and a few wives off their husbands. My brother used to say when he get called to a domestic disturbance, you just never know which one's beating the snot out of the other one. And he said, you've never seen a wife who loves her husband more than you show up and they're in a fight and she's hit him and then he hits her back. So she calls the cops because she knows she wins. And they show up and she slaps him around a little to try to bait him into hitting her one more time and he won't do it. And then finally he can't stand it. And he knocks her out, punches her real hard. My brother say, you know, you lock him, you cuff him, and you start to, don't take my husband. He's all I got. What? Wait a second. You called me here to take him. It's a dirty business, man. Whoo, man. I have pulled men off their wives when they were beating them and a few wives off their husbands. You see that. You'll see these wives beating their husband off. I mean, you gotta get them out of there. I have found lost children. I cannot remember how many thieves, robbers, and burglars I've caught. Unfortunately, I've had people die in my arms, but at least they did not die alone. I want to do it one more time while I still can. And the police department always gets there first. That's why we call the fire department second responders. The police-fire rivalry is one of the funniest things in the world. They both go at each other. Second, I love the community of Moulton. I've been Popo there for 6 months now, and I have yet to have a single person be rude or disrespectful to me. I spend much of my day just waving back and visiting with people when I'm on patrol. It's a clean, friendly, rural Texas community, almost like being taken back to the past, and I probably shouldn't publicize it, but many of the residents do not lock their doors because they don't have to live in fear. But why Moulton? This is where the answer gets a little more complicated, but it's the Popo. It's not the funding or the pay, but the officers who make up the department. So he went through this whole thing, and here's a guy who practices law, does these different things, and had been, I looked him up, had been a law enforcement officer earlier in his life, and kind of feels this desire to go back and do something. You know, people used to make fun of the Walmart greeter when they still had greeters. And I always felt like that was the wrong thing to do because there's 2 reasons somebody becomes a Walmart greeter. Number one, they really need the money because it's always old guys, remember? Old guys and old women. And for those of you too young to remember, you'd walk into Walmart and there would be a greeter. They'd be wearing the little blue jacket and they would just literally greet you pleasantly and be real sweet. And if you needed something, they'd direct you toward that aisle. But they were there because they were a smile as the face and the front of a cold, soulless corporation full of a bunch of cheap commodities from China. There were two reasons somebody was doing that. Number one, they needed the money, in which case, why are you making fun of an old person that instead of going on welfare is getting out there working? Because a lot of them were old, and that was part of the charm, is they were so old. Why are you making fun of somebody that's having to bust their ass late in life, but is doing it? Or number two, they were doing it because they were bored at home, and interacting with you was actually a highlight of their day. Now, I'm not saying this fellow Larry McDougal was figuring out Walmart greeter or police officer, but I think there's people all over the country that are sitting at home bored. And I'll get the email, Michael, nobody wants to hire us no more if we're old. That's bull. You're on Indeed. Don't give me excuses. I hate the excuses. How do you know nobody wants to hire you? Well, you can just tell. Or, I applied for 3 jobs and I didn't get them. Well, yeah, there's also a 23-year-old that didn't get them. Why didn't he get it? If you have skills to offer, and experience, and a good heart, and a willingness, and you're not crippled, although sometimes even if you're crippled, depending on the job, communities need you. I loved this story. I loved this story so much. I was so glad he posted. I hope it pulls a few more law enforcement officers out to go out and work in Fayette County and Moulton, and he's our guest. Larry McDougal, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
I love your post. What's going through your mind when you make this post? Where are you sitting? What made you say I got to do this?
Well, I get a lot of, having been a lawyer and had a successful law practice, a lot of people ask me, why would you give that up, retire from your law practice, and then go be a police officer? And I've always been a police officer at heart. I started in law enforcement when I was 19. And I actually, even though I was a lawyer, I stayed active in law enforcement until 2018 when I decided it was probably time for me to retire, but I missed it. And what I miss is helping people. I mean, it's being a police officer, you're there in their most immediate time of crisis. And we have an opportunity as police officers to help people really like no other. And I missed that. And that's one of the reasons that I went back.
Hold on. Wayne Stanfield of Carol Jane's fame? He went back too. She sent me a picture in his uniform. Strapping young buck in his uniform. Yeah, man wears a uniform well. We know that about him. Larry McDougal posted that. How old are you, Larry?
67.
67. So tell me about the day you call. Is the chief Daniel Byer? No,
yes, sir.
That's HPD.
He's
that's
our chief
an old HPD picture of yours. Well, who is the chief of Moulton?
Daniel Byer.
Oh, it is Daniel Byer. Okay. So when you decide that you want to do this, do you call him? Do you walk in the door? How's that work?
Well, actually, they've been kind of hitting me up for a while because I bought a retirement home outside of Moulton. And give you kind of a long story short, is I had a good guy with a gun murder case that I tried where I walked the good guy out with a not guilty, told my wife that was the icing on the cake with the cherry on top. And then I showed up a couple days later in Daniel's office and said, let's do it.
How about that? And so what that process look like?
I had to get my TCO license back up to speed. There was classes I had to take. I had to take a physical, and at 67, I passed it. And I had to take a psychological, and then I had to do a little bit of training and get me back up to speed, and now they've turned me loose.
So how long had it been since you'd been in a patrol car when you went back out there?
I retired from law enforcement from the Columbia-Brazoria School District in June of 18, and had been missing it ever since. I mean, it's your brother can probably tell you. Once you're out there and you become part of it, it gets in your blood.
You know, Larry, my brother qualified for retirement at, I think he had 30 years when he was 52, let's say. And he qualified for his full retirement. His needs were simple. He, every 5 years would get a Ford F-150. That was his big indulgence. He had a few acres out in the country in Harper, where he had a little fifth wheel he'd placed out there. He didn't buy new clothes. He had a home he had built. It was very modest. I mean, he lived very lean, so he didn't have a lot of expenses. So he could retire. So he wouldn't have to deal with this. He'd been a patrol officer. He'd been SWAT. He'd been undercover. He'd done a lot of stuff that I think takes its toll on a body. And we had talked about and on a mind. And so he was so eager to retire, and he retired in 6 months. And his wife said, "You got to go back to work. You're miserable. Like, how many episodes of Sanford and Son are you going to watch?" And so he did. He went back to work. And his last job, I noticed that you posted about how much you love the community of Moulton. His last job was Vidor Police Department, because a guy that he had gone through the academy with 32 years earlier was now the chief of police in Vidor. And he said, he called him and said, "Chris, why don't you come back to work?" And he called me one day and he said, "Michael, it makes me almost want to cry." He wasn't a crier. He said, I stopped to eat my lunch, and I can't pay for my lunch. I get up to the counter and they say somebody paid for it already, or we're paying for it. He said, "I've never been treated like this." He was Jefferson County all those years. "I've never been treated like this. The people of Ida are the nicest people in the world." So it's nice.
And that's Moulton. That's how it is in Moulton. People appreciate us in those small communities like that.
Are you working today?
They like us. No, I'm off today. I don't come back until next weekend.
So do you have a spot that's kind of the cop spot? Used to be Burton Cafe for cops in outside of Brenham. Back when I had a place out there, a lot of cops would go to Burton Cafe. But do you have a place in Moulton where you go?
Not well home. My wife of 47 years, when I need to take a break, I go spend time with her.
Good for you. 47 years and you're 67, so you were 18 when you met her, like I was with my wife.
Yep, met her at Wharton Junior College.
How about that? That is fantastic. Ramon, you're not part of this. Ramon's dad went to Wharton Junior College. I'm not sure why we're bringing that up right now. Did you used to live on Maryland Street in Rosenberg?
I did.
And your son, Larry Jr., is a lawyer?
Yes, he is.
And you're friends with Ray, Stephanie's dad? He's a big landowner. I can't remember Stephanie's maiden name. Well, his son-in-law, Cody Johnson's a good friend of mine, and he sent me a message.
I know Cody Johnson. You're talking to Ray Moore.
Yeah. How would you
That's
describe Cody?
Yes.
And this is not judgment, but if a guy was on the run, he'd just broken into a place and you were way away from your car, but you were calling in and you were describing Cody Johnson to dispatch, how would you describe him?
Big.
How big?
Cody Johnson grew up down the street from me.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, but when he was a kid, and I was at the Rosenberg Fire Department for a while, and so was his dad. So I've watched him grow up.
He's a good dude. He's one of my best friends.
Oh, he's crazy too.
He's absolutely
not crazy in a bad way, crazy in a funny way.
Well, that's debatable. Let me ask you about. Let me. You're not a young man anymore. My brother used to say, "I'm a better cop as an old man than a young man because I make better decisions and I don't try to create drama or aggression or a fight or conflict. I try to deflect it. When I was younger, I thought I was man enough to defeat it. Now I realize you don't want to do that." How are you a better cop now at 67?
I think things out more, and as you get older, when I was young, we would just go barreling into something, and I've learned to talk my way out of it. I've learned how to better diffuse situations, and being a lawyer is kind of cool because I can give people legal advice right there on the side when they need it.
Hold on just a moment. Larry McDougall is our guest. If you start looking around for a way to give back. You start with the high-minded idea that you're going to do something for other people, but you find out you're doing it for yourself. When people say, thank you for doing this or that for that person, I am very honest when I say, anything I do that is perceived as nice is completely, utterly, 100% selfish. I feel better about myself if I do something for someone else. We all do. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing. We should encourage people that you will feel better when you do for other people. We should stop with this nonsense of, oh, I'm a saint. I derive no joy from this. I do it absolutely joylessly because if I got any joy out of it, it wouldn't be noble. No. Learn to incentivize the behaviors you want in society, and you'll get more of that. Believe it or not, Larry McDougall is getting more out of this than the community is, and they're having a ball with it. Because now he wakes up in the morning and he's needed. He's wanted. He's appreciated. Everything's fresh again. The last day you were a cop is not nearly as fun as the first day back after you've been away. It's what my brother told me. Everything that I was tired of, bored of, sick of after 30 years, I realized, oh, I'm good at this. I enjoy this. This is fun. Larry McDougall. Larry?
Yes, Michael. Yes, Michael.
Has there been a moment since you came back that you have for a second regretted it?
No, I really haven't. It's my wife thinks I'm probably a little nutty because I love being out there. I love being on the streets. I love meeting, talking, and helping people. And you're 100% right. It is a selfish thing, but it's selfish because it gives me a feeling of purpose, of self-worth, and that's what I get out of it when I'm out there helping people. You know, as a police officer, it's just a part-time spot that I have. I work maybe 6 to 7 days a month. We work 12-hour shifts, and just like Wayne Stanfield does it too there in Moulton. And it gives you that feeling that you have. I mean, I hope I instill that in my kids because my 3 daughters all became teachers, and 2 of them are now principals, and the other one went back to the church and from public school and is teaching at a Catholic school. So, and they get that too, you know, when they're doing it as teachers. You get that feeling that you've accomplished something, you've done something good, and it's almost like a drug.
It is. It is. It's the same reaction. It's the same feelings. It's the same awesomeness. So, did you tell me isn't there a Moulton Cafe? Where do you stop and eat most days if you're on duty?
I actually go home.
Oh, you said you go home.
Wife.
That's what I was trying to remember what you said it was.
Right.
But there is a Moulton Cafe.
There's not a Moulton Cafe. We have Clazel's, which is the steakhouse, which is really nice. You're not going to find a better cheeseburger in Texas than Brian's, which is like a little Dairy Queen there. There is a little taco stand in Moulton. It's a little trailer right by the railroad tracks that's got the best crispy tacos you've ever ate. And then we have a Mexican restaurant in town, and that's it. I mean, that's all we have in Moulton as far as eating places.
There's no cafe type deal where you can get breakfast, lunch, dinner, simple food, comfort food?
There's Alley's Barbecue that serves breakfast, and they're pretty good. I mean, it's a breakfast lunch, but they're not open in the evenings. No, we really don't have that much in Moulton as far as places to eat out. And but again, I take my time away. I come home, sit down with the wife, tell her what's going on. We talk, gossip, whatever. Talk
Does she
about
make
the
you a
kids, the
sandwich,
grandkids.
or does she cook something?
She's Czech. She cooks.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
I've always said Czech women, they don't cook for health. They cook for flavor. They make comfort food.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Well, I love this story. I just wanted to share this story quickly. I got a message from Carol Janes with a picture of Wayne Stanfield in his uniform, and he's gone back and done this. I'm not saying that folks at 67 ought to get back on the gang unit at HPD, but I am saying that we all have gifts. And why let them? There's a certain frustration to the idea that, your skills are not being used anymore. Somebody wants those skills. Now, it might not be the first person to whom you offer them. It might not. But somebody wants your skills out there. Somebody could use your skills, and you would feel wonderful putting them to use. And that, not everybody is the big city cop you see on TV. There might be a little position out in Little Moulton that would like somebody to come out there and take care of the little old ladies. But here's our tribute to the cops, Paul Harvey style.
A policeman is a composite of what all men are, I guess, a mingling of saint and sinner, dust and deity. Called statistics, wave the fan over stinkers, underscore instances of dishonesty and brutality because they are news. What that really means is that they are exceptional, they are unusual, they are not commonplace. Buried under the froth is the fact. And the fact is that less than 0.5% of policemen misfit that uniform. And that is a better average than you'd find among clergymen. What is a policeman? He of all men is at once the most needed and the most wanted, a strangely nameless creature who is sir to his face and pig or worse behind his back. He must be such a diplomat that he can settle differences between individuals so that each will think he won, but if a policeman is neat, he's conceited. If he's careless, he's a bum. If he's pleasant, he's a flirt. If he's not, he's a grouch. He must make instant decisions which would require months for a lawyer, but if he hurries, he's careless. If he's deliberate, he's lazy. He must be first to an accident, infallible with a diagnosis. He must be able to start breathing, stop bleeding, tie splints, and above all, be sure the victim goes home without a limp or expect to be sued. The police officer must know every gun, draw on the run, and hit where it doesn't hurt. He must be able to whip two men twice his size and half his age without damaging his uniform and without being brutal. If you hit him, he's a coward. If he hits you, he's a bully. A policeman must know everything and not tell. He must know where all of the sin is and not partake. The policeman from a single human hair must be able to describe the crime, the weapon, the criminal, and tell you where the criminal is hiding. But if he catches the criminal, he's lucky. If he doesn't, he's a dunce. If he gets promoted, he has political pull. If he doesn't, he's a dullard. The policeman must chase bum leads to a dead end, stake out 10 nights to tag one witness who saw it happen but refuses to remember. He runs files and writes reports until his eyes ache to build a case against some felon who will get dealed out by a shameless Seamus or an honorable who isn't honorable. The policeman must be a minister, a social worker, a diplomat, a tough guy, and a gentleman. And, of course, he'll have to be a genius because he'll have to feed a family on a policeman's salary.
The